What is the most unforgivable thing your child's teacher ever did to them? When our son was in pre-K, his teacher, Mrs. Grimshaw, was known for one thing and one thing only, her no-play policy in class. Our kids weren't given any time to play with friends, play with toys, and weren't allowed to go outside. Even during the last day before Christmas break, she had them doing maths, off-curricular history, and practicing their cursive letters until the minute the bell rang for them to be picked up. Other teachers had their kids singing Christmas songs and eating cookies while playing interactive games on the projected TV. As expected, this strict authoritarian-style teaching took a toll on our son Kyle. He went from being bubbly and energetic to quiet and withdrawn after just a few months in her class. The day he came home with a bruised wrist because Mrs. Grimshaw had him bright for 4 hours without a break, my husband and I came in to talk to her sternly. We knew how she was, so we brought studies with us, showing how important playtime and how this kind of teaching was not nearly as beneficial to children. But she dismissed our concerns entirely. This study is 4 years old. Science changes and finds new things daily, she said sarcastically. Your son is excelling academically, and that's what matters. Play is just structured procrastination. We left her classroom having voiced our opinion loud and clear, yet felt completely unheard. The day after Christmas break was when everything went to hell. Kyle was so excited about the Transformer toy he got for Christmas that he begged us to let him bring it to school just to show his friends during lunch. We knew Mrs. Grimshaw didn't allow toys, but Kyle promised he wouldn't play with it and would keep it in his backpack until lunch. My husband and I figured it would be fine. That afternoon, Kyle came home sobbing harder than I'd ever seen him cry. His face was red and blotchy, and he could barely get the words out between hiccups. I held him while my husband knelt down trying to understand what happened. Finally, he managed to tell us that Mrs. Grimshaw saw his Transformer, and when she did, she got really, really mad. She stormed over to him, yanked it out of hands, and started walking back to her desk to lock it in her drawer. Kyle started to cry, begging her to give it back and saying he'll put it away, but she told him he knows toys aren't allowed. He broke the rules and needs to be punished. She took the Transformer and locked it in a box in her drawer. She promised he could have it back at the end of the day, but when end of day came, she never gave it back. In fact, she denied to Kyle ever having taken it. She showed him the locked box she put it in earlier, and sure enough, the Transformer was missing. My husband and I looked at each other, and I could feel my mama bear rage building inside me. The next morning, we both called out of work and went straight to the school. We found Mrs. Grimshaw setting up her classroom, and I tried to keep my voice level as I asked about Kyle's Transformer. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "I'm sorry, but Kyle didn't bring any toy yesterday. Perhaps he left it at home and got confused." I felt my hands clench. This woman was calling my 5-year-old son a liar to my face. My husband stepped forward and said, "We know he brought it. He showed it to us this morning before school." Mrs. Grimshaw just shrugged and turned back to her whiteboard saying, "Children have very active imaginations at this age." Knowing there was no winning with this woman, we stormed out and went straight to the principal office. He seemed sympathetic at first, but also hesitant to question Mrs. Grimshaw until I mentioned the security cameras in the hallways. His expression changed, and he pulled up the footage on his computer. We watched as Kyle walked into class, clearly holding his Transformer. Then we fast-forwarded to lunchtime and saw what made our jaws drop. Mrs. Grimshaw was walking out of her classroom carrying something red and blue in her hands. Principal's face went pale. He called Mrs. Grimshaw to his office immediately. When confronted with the footage, she finally broke down and admitted she took it. Her excuse was even worse than the theft itself. She had given it as a late Christmas to her nephew. As to why she did it, turns out her sister had threatened to cut her off from seeing her nephew after she showed up to Christmas without presents for him, then spent the entire day trying to watch educational documentaries with him instead of letting him watch Home Alone. My wife and I were baffled. The principal made her return the toy immediately and placed her on administrative leave pending a full investigation. When word got out to other parents, there was absolute outrage. Mrs. Grimshaw was eventually terminated, and last I heard she was working at a grocery store.